Hi, I'm Dominique, and this is Peggy. Why are you the way that you are? And I got a question for y'all out here. Why do you think that the cold hard machine of capitalism cares about your feelings? For real. I have a confession. I am a K-pop stan. I like K-pop, okay? Is that a sin? You know, I like bright concepts, bubbly music. I like to dance. I like to shake my booty. It just works with me. And not only am I a K-pop stan, but I'm a decrepit, ancient K-pop stan. I've been standing since the second generation. I'm telling you, one of my favorite movies forever was 200 Pounds Beauty. And let me tell you right now, they don't care about you. We're American. Most of us are Black Americans. The culture that they are dogging on and that we're talking about right now is Black American culture. So let's just assume and go with the idea that most of us are Black Americans talking about this. We know what it's like to live under capitalism, right? So to prove I'm not a narc, let me give you guys my K-pop credentials, okay? I am a second generation stan. First group, me and my sister Stan were the Wonder Girls. K-pop was not the first piece of Korean media that I consumed. I would say I got into K-dramas before I got into K-pop, probably in my freshman year of high school, okay? Actually, I think it was my mom who first found Korean dramas and we started consuming them. I think it was Rooftop Prince was our first one, or maybe Boys Over Flowers. Favorite movie for the longest time was 200 Pounds Beauty. I've been consuming this for a long time, been to Korea.
And it's not like stuff like blackface and caricatures is rare over there. Like I said, when I was in Korea myself, I was just casually flipping through the channels and came up upon blackface. And me and my friend were like, it was quiet. We didn't know what to do. We just looked at each other. Because I know that he was trying to figure out if I was offended, if he needed to counsel me, or if I felt like it was really a big deal, or if he should turn it off. And I'm in shock. Someone say something. We've, to this day, never even said anything about that. It's just been
And that was in the year of our Lord 2025. So, we know that there's racial inequities, right? We know that there's racial issues there. But I will say when I was over there, I never got any negative treatment. Everyone was very nice to me, and I was in some very, 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 very Korean-only spaces, and I didn't have a problem at all. So I say all this not to discourage people from going or consuming the culture or the content, but we do have to appreciate that there's nuance to this. People always underestimate the amount of money that Black people put into industry. Let's think about, and I hate to bring this up because this is a whole nother controversy. I swear everybody hate us. But Tyla, okay? She just floppy-ana, did she not? She flopped. And people have been talking about it. What are the causes? Blaming Black Americans. I don't think that that's our fault, first of all. Not Black Americans' sole responsibility to hold up and propel whoever you guys want to hold up and propel right now, right? So her album flopping, that's not my responsibility. Honestly, I didn't even know that she had an album. Did you know she had an album come out? I only found out after I heard that it flopped. So if anything, that's her PR's fault. That's her team's fault for letting her floppy on it, because I didn't even know that it was coming out to be pissy about it. That being said, it's not even I hate that girl, to be honest. I just don't pay attention to her, and that's it. There's power in Black voices and the Black community and seeing the change that we want. But I just want us to also be mindful that a lot of the production choices that are going on with these things are a whole ocean away. And so they're not feeling imminent backlash about what they're doing. All they're seeing is that they are getting talked about more, they're getting clicks, people are curious and seeing what people are talking about. And that's us doing that. We're boosting it up. And that is completely unnecessary, because if we don't like something, I swear to God, it is more effective to just look away. And yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people in your face but I mean, that's life. Honestly, I'm speaking as, I don't want to say auntie. I don't think that I'm auntie yet, but I'm definitely big sister. I'm definitely a big sister at this point. I'm speaking as big sister right now. Mama, it's gonna be like that your whole life. And if you put energy into every single thing that is stressing you out, every single thing that's nasty, funky, and sweaty, you're gonna be nasty and funky, sweaty, and too. So if you want to be nasty and funky and sweaty with them people, if you want to get down and pig and roll around, that's none of my responsibility. I'm gonna look away just like I look away from that thing. You do what you want to do. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's ineffective. You're giving them what they want. You're feeding into that energy. Negative energy begets negative energy. And the more that you feed into it, the more that it's gonna grow. they are a ocean away from you. Like, a lot of times the change that happens because you are in their face, right? There are not enough Black people in Korea to be in these K-pop executives' face to make them sweat and stop. They're not seeing any real repercussions. They're seeing clicks, they're seeing attention, they're seeing eyeballs, but they're not seeing Kelly in the cafe looking at them, okay? Like, they're not seeing their co-workers whispering behind their back. They're not seeing somebody coming up on them and saying, hey, say it to my face, because that's not gonna happen. Nobody's there. I was there in Korea. You know, I know that they're saying like immigration is up, right? I know they're saying in Seoul there's more and more blah 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 blah. I've been to Korea twice, and that is not by far not a large enough data set to make any sweeping allegations, right? But when I was there, I will say there was a concert I went to, and I was one of 2 Black people, and I don't know, one of like 6 visibly foreign people, to be honest. When I was in the station, the biggest station, I'm sitting here in Seoul Station. You see anyone like me? No. I mean, that's not a requirement. Like, you don't go to Korea expecting to see a bunch of Black people. But just from my observations, you know, there was not, I don't know, I could count the number of Black people I encountered on one hand. A ball was had. I had a good time. The places that I ate, everyone was incredibly nice to me. You know, especially you speak a little bit of Korean. You don't need that much. Honestly, you do not need that much to figure out what's going on and to swivel around, as long as you got a little bit of, you know, cognitive function in your brain. As long as you got enough Korean, you know, you don't need that much. So, you know, I had great conversations with people in Korean. You know, we was fumbling around a little bit, but it was good. I had good food, but I didn't see any Black people. It was no Negroes there. I still remember the day that this video played in my living room. I was watching Kenny JD, you know, it was that era, and listening to her stories about Hyundai. I was in college myself, and I was sitting with my ex-boyfriend watching K-pop videos. He liked them too. And he was trying to explain to me that he didn't think there was a racial issue in K-pop. I said, friend, respectfully, I'm deep in this, and yeah, there is. But he refused to believe that. And then one of his favorite songs that he had only ever listened to popped up on screen. The room was quiet, dead silent. We watched this man munch on chicken, watermelon. We watched this man wear do-rags, throw up what he thought were gang signs, try to look hard. And what were we supposed to say? Us two monkeys looking at this man making a monkey of us. What do you say? What can you say? You don't say anything. We know what K-pop is, right? And I guess this is something that maybe hasn't been expressed, and I feel like to the audience that I'm addressing this to, it doesn't need to be expressed explicitly, but I'll just say it. The issue is not inherently the do-rags, the braids, the sagging. No. The issue is the perception that it creates. You know, they're using stereotypes in order to build an image that they want to carry just for like one comeback or two. You know, they are not putting on a do-rag because they think that it looks cool necessarily, because I mean, if that were the case, they'd put on do-rags for when they're doing like, you know, just a general pop song, you know, like you'd see do-rags in TT. But the issue is more so they put on those do-rags because they think that they put on the do-rags, it will remind the Korean audience of Black people. You know, it'll make the Korean audience reminisce of those Black people who they think of as like gangsters or thugs or whatever. You know, it'll put on that look, and it'll do some of the heavy lifting for the concept for them. Like, do you know how hyped I would be if I saw like a bubblegum, like, you know, cutesy concept that was used on a rap song? That would be so cool. I'd be so hyped. That would be interesting. It would be cute, you know, fun. Even like some could argue that like there are artists right now in the West who are doing that kind of concept, and even in the music that I create, it's very similar, where it's like, you know, a very like bubbly kind of like cutesy concept, even if that's not necessarily what the song is actually like about. And Matt, just think about how even limiting that is as far as like what Korean rap can be. Korean rap always has to be this like forced Black image, and that's really limiting for them, honestly. But it's also limiting for us, because in their eyes, that's all that Black can be. You know, all that Black can be is what stereotypes and their own imagination a lot of times have created. And that's the issue. It limits our capabilities and our functions and our movements in society, not just theirs but ours, because other places consume that media, and other people will also be reminiscent of like Black culture, and not necessarily in a positive way. Maybe adjectives they think of might be like cool or like hip or stylish or swag, you know, that's whatever. But like it also comes to mind with like, you know, being like hard and thuggish and rough and tough and gruff, and that's what they want. That's what they want you to think of. They're using these Black images not necessarily as appreciation, just as a shortcut for being hard, thuggish, gangster, and cool. That's the issue. Because especially in Korea, it's not like they act like they invented braids or do-rags, right? They never put on that front. So that's not really what the issue is there. And I think that cultural nuance is also what people miss when we talk about cultural appropriation between, you know, America, how it exists in America and how it exists in other places. Like in America, the majority won't acknowledge our styles, our trends, our culture at all. And then when they find something, then they will act like they completely invented it. There's a joke that me and my ex make all the time. He's been using shea butter for a very long time now. He has only exclusively been around white people the majority of his life. And he's Asian. And so when we first started dating, I came over and I was like, oh, what you know about this cocoa butter? You know, what you know about the shea butter, you know? And he was like, nobody knows about this, you know? Like, I go to the store and the shelves are full, and I'm like, why do people not know about this? I was like, what you talking about? Like, this is what I've been using my whole entire life. This is what Black people use. We, like, almost exclusively use cocoa butter and shea butter. What do you mean? Like, it was really shocking. And so whenever he comes over to my house now, he always will pick up the, you know, the big bottle in my bathroom and be like, you know, I'm so glad that I discovered this for you. But like, if you really think about it, like, that's a little jokey joke, but if you think about it, that's like what appropriation is in America. Appropriation is you don't pay attention to that minority. You discover something that people have been using this whole time and have been producing for themselves, and then you bring it to the wider audience with your name on it, and you use that as a way to like push forward and market the product as if you created it. And it really takes away all the history and knowledge and experience of the culture that you took it from, further perpetuating the idea that that culture has in fact not created anything. And when you're in a minority in a country, it feels kind of degrading looking around and not seeing things that your folk created, that you guys have worked on, and it almost makes it seem like you guys can't do that. In fact, I had somebody when I was in high school argue with me that there shouldn't be an African history class because no history has happened in Africa. That's crazy. Like, that's just nonsense. What even would make you say that? That doesn't even make sense. Like, history happens whether you acknowledge it or not. If a tree falls in a forest and you're not there to hear it, the tree still fell. These type of things happen. They happen all the time. They're not new. They're not really even like hidden. But that's cultural appropriation in America. People in Asia are very extremely proud of their culture. They're not going to sit here and say that the do-rags are their culture, or that like braids are their culture, or whatever. I mean, under like box braids or something like that, you know, cornrows. They're not out there doing that, but the steps are still the same. They're taking that culture from another group, a minority in their culture. They're commodifying it, and they're using that like image and that likeness in order to sell an image. And it still negatively impacts us. So like, it's nuanced, it's different, but it doesn't mean that it's not appropriation just because it's not appearing in the same form that you are used to seeing it, you know? Flu takes a different form every single year, but it's still the flu. K-pop is an extremely competitive atmosphere, okay? They're going to do anything they can to get somebody to look at them. And as long as there's no huge repercussions, that's a winning business model. That's why they had girls in the second generation showing up, you know, basically wearing panties and tights, you know? And like, those girls didn't like it, okay? There have been so many instances of people speaking out and saying, I actually didn't want to do this. My company made me do this. I told them that this was inappropriate. They're aware that it was inappropriate, but I had to do it. We just had a big example of this happen just now.
Outfits for the music video. Because we get like a preview of what each member is going to wear. And yes, we saw the do-rag and we said, okay, let's not do that. And we voiced our opinion. But apparently it was like a beanie with legs, and I went through the same situation because I had a very similar beanie that had legs basically, and so that's what they thought as well. that, because that scene that went out, it was, they were already shooting, and then I went, and apparently they had made an attempt to make it less like that, but then I said, oh, I don't think it still looks too much like that, so they cut it shorter for the other shots. But yeah, just know that we are conscious of what everyone is feeling, and it's not going to be seen anymore. I mean, we can't really do much about what's been already shot, but in the future, it's, yeah, you're not going to see it.
And then reflecting back on the beanies with legs situation, there was absolutely apprehension about that. He not only discussed it with his company, or his stylist at least, once but twice, to the point that they cut the legs off the beanie.
Not like, I have 100% sympathy, right? But I'm aware that a lot of these kids don't have the choices in what they're doing. Like, and this is not just a K-pop issue, This is a pop issue. Personalities are literally assigned to people. The way that they act, the way that they speak, the way that they talk, walk, dress, all that is strictly regulated in order to get the best outcome, the best financial outcome, because it's capitalism, and capitalism doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about me. All it cares about is money. And so, for instance, if Kiss of Life wants to do whatever that live stream was, right? If they want to do that, that's fine. I can't really control their bodies, their minds, or their souls, but we can stop them from going to KCON LA.
There were 3 things I think that really worked against them. For one, the timing of everything. When that came out, the announcement about KCON LA happened just shortly after. So it was really fresh on people's minds. And they were like, why are you bringing these people who are disrespectful to us to LA to perform in our faces? Like, you want them to be a monkey? Like, hello? 2, they have members who were born in America and are very, well-versed in American history, American culture, to the point that when they were acting out, you could tell that this is something that they had been thinking about, something that they had been processing on. And so there's not the excuse of, oh, they didn't know, even though I think that's a played excuse anyway. And I think that the third thing that really impacted this whole situation and made it big was, I think they underestimated how big their international audience is. They probably do have a pretty good amount of popularity in Korea, but they had a good amount of popularity in the US. And because they had already gone viral on US social media so many times, they were familiar faces. So when that came up, it came up at a time where they had high visibility in the US. A lot of people were playing their Igloo song. A lot of people were playing Sik-k. A lot of people loved the other songs. I can't remember them. I loved Kiss of Life. I really did like Kiss of Life. I was deeply disappointed. And so, disappointing their black and brown audience like that. And then, of course, anyone else who just, objectively saw that and thought that, yeah, that's a bad idea. That's a poor way to treat people. And then immediately getting announced in KCON LA, that's crazy timing. I think they just didn't realize it was going to have such a big impact. And I hear that their song that came out after Igloo and whatever, Igloo was the B-side, I don't remember what the title track was. But I hear the song that came out after that did well, at least in Korea. But I don't even know the name of it. I think that it's just a lack of consequence that really keeps people doing these things, not a lack of knowledge. It's just a lack of consequence. There's no black people around them to be like, you know what I mean? We do still have Tarzan. And Tarzan is running amok, okay? I don't know what you guys think about the situation. I don't personally like seeing that man, ever. It feels like every time I open up my YouTube shorts or whatever, there's another video of Tarzan and his booty out. I'm disgusted. I'm tired. I don't want to see your booty anymore. I get it. I get what he thinks that he's doing. I get that some people, in Korea, they think it's so cool. But I don't live in Korea. I live here.
And the only thing I can ever think about is that SpongeBob meme of him going, wee, 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 with his little booty out. That's all I can think about.
Why is it already stinking?
oh my goodness. And I wish I had never seen that. I didn't want to see that. It did look stankin'. He was stankin'. So I don't know. What do you want my opinion on? Like, they know that they're playing. They know that they're playing. And if you guys keep on giving it all this time and energy, boosting it up or whatever, it's going to be a good play in the playbook. So let's talk. It's good that you are not purchasing these products. But is that enough? Is your outrage being farmed? I remember my internet elder sister told me, and this was back in like 2012, 2011, okay, when she said this. It was Julesy. Julesy said that Black outrage is like the best marketing scheme. She was the first person that I heard say that, and she was right. I don't know what they were doing back then. You know, people were really cutting up back then. I don't know what she was referring to or what that was about, or if I can even find that video. But I just remember she was the first person that I ever heard really say that, and really, like, for it to really lock into my mind. And I realized that it's true, you know? We are really good at organizing. We are really good at speaking out. It's in our nature. It's in our ancestry, right? But the world is not the same anymore. And speaking up don't do what it's supposed to do. And I just want us to analyze our actions and make sure that our actions are leading to the outcome that we actually want, or if they're actually perpetuating the issue. You know how they say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism? That extends to K-pop. Like, we really romanticize Korea a lot over here. And I want us to be real right now. Like, there's a reason they're the plastic surgery capital of the world, you know? Like, there's a reason that they've been able to make K-pop the unrelenting machine that it is. And that's because they're not moving with your feelings in mind. You're not who they're trying to appeal to. You are who they're trying to farm. Okay, you are nutrients for their company to keep moving. And you choose to be a nutrient if you want. A lot of people will say on the internet, it's not about you. Have you ever thought about maybe they just like braids, box braids? Box braids are not just a Black thing. Goo. You know, none of that is super important, because I want to reframe that, okay? Is it about you? Maybe not. That's not really important. Is your outrage sustenance for their growth and sustainment? Yeah, it is. Are we fighting the good fight? I believe we are trying to. Young people are so easy to manipulate, and K-pop skews to the younger audience. It's so easy to farm somebody who, in a country that devalues education and things like media literacy. They're feeding on our innate need to be correct and just. We really need people to see us this way. We need people to know that we're not all this, and they're feeding into it, and that makes it bad. And that's all true. I'm with you, mama. I'm with you. But like, at some point, I don't want to be somebody's banquet. I don't want to be somebody's feast. I want to just live a good life. And I want y'all to live a good life too. We really don't got to focus on this. I'm saying all this, and I still listen to K-pop. I've been to Korea. I watch K-dramas. There's a few K-dramas I really, really like. But there's one in particular dealing with like an autistic lawyer that felt so real and true to me in my experiences as a autistic professional. Even though we're in completely different situations and we're in completely different countries, completely different experiences, races, everything, I watched that and I still felt something. I felt moved, I felt shaken, I felt stirred, you know? And I do think that there are agencies that care. I do think that there are idols who care, you know? Korea is not a monolith. Korean people are not a monolith. Black people are not a monolith. Sometimes people just do things because they don't know any better too. I think that becomes more and more indefensible as time passes, but you know, I'm sure it exists out there. I'm still gonna listen to my little K-pop songs. I'm definitely going to go back to East Asia. You know, I'm still gonna travel. I'm still gonna make new experiences and see the world. I'm not gonna let those things stop me. You know, I'm not gonna let the fear that these people feel this way about me or these people look this way about me or whatever stop me. I mean, honestly, if anyone hasn't told you, I'm gonna be honest with you 100%. This is from sister/auntie to you, direct through the pipeline, cut, no chaser, no nothing. Pretty privilege works everywhere, okay? And politeness goes a long way. If you're just polite, If you just take your time and try to like understand the culture you're visiting, try to understand the language that you're experiencing, that can go a long way too. So I just don't want this to seem like this is all doom and gloom podcast featuring Dominique and Peggy. No, like this is just honesty. The world is not a caring place. I care about you, whoever you are, but I'm not going to pretend that this is like a universal constant. And I'm not going to pump you guys full of false inspiration. I think that it can be inherently inspiring in and of itself that change has been made in such an inherently unequal place. I think that that's inspiring in and of itself. I think pretending that the world is an easy place to shake and that it's been shook really takes away from the inspiration and the hard work, of our ancestors. The hard work of the people before us that made the place the world that it is now, and the people who are actively trying to push it forward. My point is, we've seen it before, we'll see it again. You make the choice on how you want to react to that. I'm not your mama. I'm not anyone's mama, so I can't stop you, and I won't. If you've heard anything that I've said today, I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not even gonna say a singular thing. I hope this is the only time that I bring up black outrage in K-pop. I don't want to feed the machine that I'm decrying as inherently evil and manipulative, because it is evil and manipulative, but it's working. We're making it work. So I got up at 3 a.m. with this on my mind to tell you guys, pick your battles, fight the ones that you think are a fair, true fight, and most importantly, think critically about what you're doing, because even if you have great intentions, the impact may end up being the opposite of what you ever wanted. And I want you babies to thrive, not just survive. I want y'all to have a good life. I want y'all to be happy. That's all.
Let me know what you think about the state of K-pop and its future and its international reception. Let me know down below. If you are one of the 3 people who watches, thank you. I appreciate you watching. Bye bye.